I know some people have told me they're in an office by themselves all day. They don't need that mask on, but when they go down the hall to print something at the copier, to go to the bathroom, then they have to put a mask on. It's just this constant on-off all day long. So this would be a great option in that situation. Hi, I'm Sarah from Mr. and Mrs. DIY, and today I have a new face mask tutorial for you. Now this is a different kind of face mask. It actually looks like a very fitted infinity scarf, and I like to think of it as an errand running mask. When I was out running errands the other day, I noticed that a lot of people had thrown a bandana or a swath of fabric around their face, and then they were constantly fiddling, trying to tuck it in place, because let's face it, those fitted masks that hopefully are providing good filtration can, in the summer heat, make it really difficult to breathe. I've seen people wearing their mask so far away from their face that I can see their mouth, and I don't know what good it's doing, but they're technically meeting the requirement to have a mask on in a store. So this is supposed to be an alternative for that. This isn't for the person who's going into a high-risk situation like a hospital or a nursing home. So that was also the other thing I wanted to achieve with this mask, is something that if you need to take your mask on and off, which I've run into a few times already in different situations, it gets really frustrating to be fiddling with it all the time. You don't want to be touching it a whole lot, and yet it feels kind of weird sometimes to have this very stiff mask just hanging around your neck as you drive from one store to the next. So I wanted to provide something with maximum breathability, but do know that this probably has very little filtering properties. It's a great fabric though if you just need to have something over your face and still be able to breathe. So what we have here is cotton gauze. I've already washed and dried it. And I cut a rectangular piece here that is 14 inches by 28 inches. And that seemed to be a good size for me to make basically what's a fitted infinity scarf, but with a detail that's going to turn it into a mask. So the first thing we're going to do is sew our two short ends together to make a tube of fabric. So kind of if you were like doing a skirt, we're just going to sew these two ends here together. Now, gauze frays very easily, so if you have a serger, you're going to want to serge off this seam after you've sewn it. I don't have a serger, so instead I'm going to do something called a French seam. So with a French seam, we're going to start a little backwards from what we would normally do. We're actually going to put the wrong sides together. I don't really have to worry about that because this is a solid gray gauze, but if you're using a print that has a right side and a wrong side, and you want to use this French seam method, start by putting the wrong sides together. And we're going to sew down this short end from top to bottom. Let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so we've made a tube. You can see how we've already got the basics of an infinity scarf here, right? Just a circle of fabric. Now what we're going to do to encase all those raw edges, we're going to turn it so that the raw edge of our seam is on the inside, and we're going to sew right down the side, if you can see here. So look, we've got our raw edges. Let's see here if I can do this. We've got our raw edges, and we are kind of hiding them in this new seam that we're going to do, top to bottom all the way down. So we've sewn that same seam twice, but that's going to conceal our raw edges. So let's go ahead and do that now. And you might want to iron too. I'm not going to. I'm just going to wing it and hope for the best. Now we have all of our side seam on the short end. That's all done. We've sewn it twice, and that has encased our raw edges. Let's take care of those threads. So now we've got on that side seam, you can turn it inside out. We have no raw edges that are going to show and fray and wear away at our mask as we wash it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is if we are wearing the mask like a scarf, we've got a top edge here that's gonna come up over our nose, but then we've got the bottom edge that lays across the collarbone. So we're going to just do a simple hem on that. We're gonna roll it just like 1/4 of an inch. Again, this is not like an exact science kind of project. You can just kind of wing it and do what works for you. I do find the gauze just a little fiddly to work with because it is so like loose. So if you need to do a little deeper of a hem on it than you normally would, I think that's okay. So I'm just gonna roll this edge and do a straight stitch the whole way around the bottom to create a rolled hem. I'm not gonna pin it because I try to avoid extra steps if I possibly can, but pinning would probably be a good idea. I'm using a very small stitch on my stitch settings. Again, because this cotton gauze is such a loose weave, I feel like it needs as much stability as I can possibly give it by using tiny stitches. So I've got, on my machine, I have a Brother machine. It's a 2.5 stitch length. There we go. Okay, so now we are down to the last step. This scarf mask thing goes together so fast. Okay, so we've got the side all done and we've got that bottom hem all done. Not the prettiest hem I've ever done, but since we're wearing it as an infinity scarf, it kind of gets all like loosely gathered up together anyway. I'm not gonna fuss with it. All right, now we're gonna do very similar on the top. We're gonna fold over about 1/2 inch and then fold over again, but now we're going to take a piece of elastic and we're going to add it into that seam. But I need to show you because there's a trick to this. Okay, I have a piece of elastic that's 24 inches long. It's flat, which I prefer to work with. And for this step, I'm actually going to be a good seamstress and use my pins. Okay, so I'm going to lay my, let's see, how do I want to do this here? All right, so I've got that seam. I'm gonna put it so that that goes down the back of the neck. We'll hide that seam a little bit since it is a little on the bulky side. Here's how the elastic's gonna go. It's gonna go through the rolled hem on the top part of the face to about here, and then it's going to not be encased in the fabric on the back half. My first design, I tried putting the elastic through the entire top edge of the scarf, basically like a skirt, like just a simple elastic waisted skirt. And I found that that really didn't work. It ended up just being loose and kind of falling down around my face. I could have tightened the elastic, but then I thought, well, if I'm making these for a variety of people, there'd be no way to adjust it to get a better fit. Where I like to have that elastic exposed in the back. You can tie it in a knot if it's too loose. You can do what you need to do to make it fit you better. I also found that when I had the entire piece of elastic encased in the fabric, it just kept sliding up on my face until the front edge was really getting into my sight line and just getting really close to that under eye area, and I found that really distracting and uncomfortable. So for some reason, just keeping that elastic inside the fabric in the front half of the mask, let it come out of the fabric on the back half of the mask, that seemed to be the sweet spot where I could really get it to fit the way I wanted to. So we're gonna pin it so that we can get that. So I've got it inside out right now, laying it down. I've got the seam that we made down the side right here in front of me. I've got it laid out like this, and I'm going to just pin it here. And we're just tucking it under because we don't want any of those loose edges to show. I like to do a different colored pin where I want to start and stop. I know some people do like a double pin where they want to start and stop. So I've got white pins in the middle and I've got a yellow pin here on the end, and I'm just going to keep doing that. Okay, so I've pinned this side, but I'm going to leave the front edge. We're going to leave that alone for now. We're just going to sew this back edge right here because we're not going to have any elastic in that portion. So I have the back side hemmed, and now we're going to create a rolled hem on this front edge, but we're going to encase some elastic in there. So I have 24 inches, 1/4 inch wide, maybe. So I'm going to lay that across this top edge, and then I'm going to fold my raw edge under, and then fold it over again. And I've got the elastic encased right in there. Okay, now I'm going to pin this because this is the one part I really don't want to screw up. I'm going to start pinning from the middle, and we're not going to be sewing down that elastic. As soon as your needle goes through the elastic, you've just lost the ability for the elastic to really stretch in that area. So we just want to, again, if you've ever made like a simple elastic waistband skirt, this is kind of what we're doing here. It's just that the waistband is only on the front edge of the mask and not on the back edge, and you'll see why when we're all done. Now there is going to be a small area where it's not really hemmed at all. You can see this is the area we've already hemmed. It's the area where we haven't. We don't want to sew through the elastic right here. We're just going to leave that little gap so that this elastic is still stretchy and it isn't stuck in place. Okay, so I've pinned that entire front edge. Try and get it up nice and close. You can see we've got put a yellow pin where I'm going to stop sewing because I do not want to sew through the elastic. Number one rule. We are just going to create like a waistband, like a skirt, for the elastic to go through. So we're just going to leave the two ends of the elastic sticking out for now, and then we'll finish those up at the very end. So right now I'm just going to sew right along that bottom edge just underneath the elastic. You can see we've got this right here, and I can stretch it and it kind of gathers. We are almost done. Now what we're going to do is take the two ends of our elastic, overlap them, and do a little zigzag stitch, just about an inch overlap there. All right, and with that we are done. Now I'm going to show you how cool this mask is to wear, okay? Turn it right side out. When you go to put it on, hold it so that you've got that front stretchy part here, your loose piece of elastic, and then the part of the fabric that doesn't have any elastic in it at all in the back, okay? Stick it on just like you would a shirt. Mess up your hair a little. And you've got just a cute infinity scarf. So you're in a situation where you're fine to be without a mask, but you know you're going to be needing your mask later. Instead of taking it on and off, it can just be part of your outfit. You can just wear it. I know some people have told me they're in an office by themselves all day. They don't need that mask on, but when they go down the hall to print something at the copier, go to the bathroom, then they have to put a mask on. It's just this constant on off all day long. So this would be a great option in that situation. Again, if you're healthy and you don't need a mask that's actually filtering and protecting you. Then when you're ready to put it on as a mask, you just stick it up over your face. Wear it like that. Now, this one, I made the elastic a little loose. So what you can do, just gonna put a little knot in mine, and now it'll have just enough tension. There we go. That is not gonna slide out of place. It actually fits pretty well around the nose. I'm sure it kind of depends on the shape of your nose. I feel really good about this mask. You put it down. Kind of tuck it in. You can't really see that elastic in the back. You can tuck it in again. So this would be a great mask for running errands if you're in situations where you feel like you're constantly taking your mask on and off. This is such a nice mask for the heat, for the summer, for anyone with asthma or breathing issues or claustrophobia who doesn't like that feeling of a fitted tight mask up against your face. I wouldn't count on it as far as like actually filtering out viral particles. So if you're in an at-risk situation, or you yourself or someone you care for is at risk, I would choose a mask with less breathability but more filtering properties. But this is a great mask for somebody who is struggling to breathe in the heat and was considering just going without a mask at all, at least you've got something on. At least you can meet the requirements when you're running an errand in a store, you're wearing something over your face. But it's nice to just feel as normal as possible in these kind of odd situations that we're in right now, where we have to wear a mask and we see people wearing masks. I know this just took me a little step closer towards normal, where I could feel like at least when I walk out of that store, I can take my mask down and just feel like I'm wearing a scarf. And when this is all over, I'm gonna cut the elastic out of it and just have a cute scarf and leave all this behind, hopefully, right? So I think this is a good option for some people, not for everybody, but I think it's a good option for some. And I hope that it's helpful to you. I hope it inspires you and kind of gets the wheels turning in your own mind to see how you can adapt it for your needs and for your situation. And I hope if you enjoyed our video today that you will like and subscribe to Mr. and Mrs. DIY. We are continuing to do sewing videos. We are doing remodeling videos. My husband's gonna do some repair videos at some point in the future as well. We're always up to something around our house anyway. We have an old fixer-upper, so we figured we might as well show you and let other people enjoy the journey with us. So I hope you'll subscribe, I hope you'll keep tuning in here. We're just really glad to get to share this journey with you. So have a great day, bye.